Oh, you're recording right now? Okay. Whoa. Well, yeah, podcast mode. Hey, yeah, you were welcome to House of Decline. We're doing something new in that this episode is kind of about something. We have, of course, it's me, Alex. We have Steven, as always. And then we have another Alex who is an expert in the subject matter. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hello. Hello.
And the subject matter is that of the Dork Enlightenment.
The Dork Enlightenment.
The Dork Enlightenment, which we have talked a lot about on this podcast, but never really gone into a deep dive about what it is. But I think it's important because it sort of animates our thesis of that everything is getting worse, in that now they're using Deleuze to justify having the seasteading boy-fucking ultra-capitalist communes in the middle of the sea. Mm-hmm. So, Alex, just...
Not an inaccurate description.
That's how we start. Alex, can you tell us a little about the Dork Enlightenment? Just like, what is, if I don't know anything about it, what's the first thing I should know about the
And I have the same question. That's a good question. That's my question too.
Yeah, sure. Well, not being like somebody who's read all of the material necessarily, just, gone through the basics. It was coined, I think, by that Mencius moldbug. I forget. I can never pronounce his name.
Mencius moldbug. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Curtis Yarvin.
Yarvin. Yeah, thank you. I think that he's the one who coined it and called for this neo-cameralism, a neo-cameralist government where you would form into separate companies and rule, and you would have the right to switch companies, right? You can move between which corporation you work for and live in, and be like a bunch of company towns or something.
You know what that reminds me of is the Crimson Permanent Assurance from the Monty Python sketch, where all the corporate buildings are pirate ships.
The beginning of the life.
Each other.
The beginning of not life. The beginning of the. It has the baby sequence.
The meaning of life.
The meaning of life, right?
Yeah,
that's the meaning of life. Yeah.
The Crimson Permanent Assurance. So yeah, you can only be part of a corporation as sort of like, there's no state entity, there's just corporations.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a play on corporate rating.
And I think that Yarvin, you can kind of follow it out from there. The way he thinks about the world is basically, democracy has failed, Western civilization is collapsing, we need to move on to something else. People, there's kind of that, people want to be controlled by an entity or need to have something, but government isn't it. And so then at some point, Nick Land picked that up.
Who is Nick Land?
Ooh, big question.
Yeah. Just what are his, because he was credentialed before he started into this crazy line of reasoning, right? What were his academic credentials before he was a crazy?
Well, he was part of a kind of little academic movement that came out of Warwick Philosophy, the philosophy department at Warwick, where a bunch of people who are now pretty heavy in academia came out of Reza Negarestani, Ray Brassier, Kodwo Eshun, just for folks who might be familiar. There's some really excellent work that came out of there, including from Land early on. And they sort of, I'd say, were the people who coalesced accelerationism into a thing, even though they didn't coin the term, I don't think, and many of them wouldn't consider themselves accelerationists. That was kind of the vibe at the time, which was like, the internet is here and technology is taking over. What are we going to do? Does capitalism even make sense
can we
anymore?
manage this or just lean into the chaos?
Yeah. But yeah, so Land was a real scholar back then and had some interesting ideas, was certainly an expert in like Kant and Deleuze.
Yes, but around 2010, 2011, he turns to this Mencius Moldbug, Curtis Yarvin philosophy of like, and really starts fleshing it out in an academic sense, right?
Yeah. Well, he, this when the CCRU broke up. Oh, by the way, that stands for Cybernetic Culture Research Unit.
Hells yeah, that's some Neil Stevenson shit.
Nick Land, like he helped start that, right?
Yeah. He and a woman named Sadie Plant, who wrote a book called "Writing on Drugs." both meanings of that phrase.
Yes.
Because they were writing on drugs. They were all on drugs, especially Nick Land. I think that they were taking speed all the time. They used to hold conferences that were like dance parties. Like somebody would be reading a paper and there would be disco playing, and somebody would be like on drugs, dancing around the stage. Like, and I think there's an anecdote in some article about like, where does accelerationism come from? That's like, at one point somebody stood up in the audience and was like, some of us are still actually Marxists, Some
of us are still Marxists. Hello, we still believe in Labour theory of value.
I do like that accelerationists were all on speed, though. I love that.
Yeah.
No, but it's
Makes
part
sense.
of the Dork Enlightenment. Accelerationism are very fast, and my general theory, which is that speed turns you into a fascist.
So I want just quick interjection footnote, because I'm reading the Wikipedia page about the monks, who we discussed in a couple episodes before, and because I finally listened to the Monks album. 10 out of 10. Can't believe I didn't know about it. But apparently while they were in Hamburg, the same woman named Oma got them hooked on speed that also got the Beatles hooked on speed.
Oh my.
There's this like crazy grandma in Germany who was like, all the Wehrmacht boys used to love these pills. She's just giving it to the bands that come through Hamburg.
Preluding, man. That was we did Frellies, and we could stay up 3 days at a time playing for all these Hamburg people, and they were openly fucking in the audience. And it was all gingly gangly gree back then at the Indra Club. I know a lot about the Beatles. I love the Beatles.
I feel like that's a forgotten part of the 60s, is that a lot of people were on speed a lot of the time. Is like, it
before
probably
65
actually wasn't very chill.
No, a lot of assault. John Lennon was kicking the shit out of a lot of people on the streets of Hamburg.
Right.
Yeah, that's why because John Lennon thought Stuart Sutcliffe dying was karma for him kicking the shit out of so many people. That's a horrifying story of John Lennon.
I'd hate to be the friend that he revealed that to.
Oh my. So we got Nick Land, 2011. He's partnering also with big corporate money with Peter Thiel, guys like that.
Yeah. Wow.
So what interest does someone like Peter Thiel have in this philosophy of basically corporations becoming de facto kings? I mean, that's a vast oversimplification, but
well, I think you can read some accelerationist texts, including the Accelerationist Manifesto, or Manifesto for an Accelerationist Politics, or MAP as it's sometimes called, which is by Nick Cernicek and Alex Williams, and that was written around 2011 as well. You can read that piece and basically hear Andrew Yang running for president. It's like very, like, I agree with swaths of it in terms of their critique of the left. I think is pretty poignant, but some of their suggestions on what to do are like, okay, how is this not just like Silicon Valley disruption rhetoric?
I like accelerationism because we have disaster capitalism, but have you tried disaster socialism?
Yeah, I think it was called socialism.
Yeah. Yeah, always good in a crisis. Man.
I was going to say, Land, the CCRU broke up partially because Land, I think, was eventually fired. He was like living in his office and it was like covered in dirty clothes and old food.
Oh my.
And was like, had lost his mind basically. And then
Because
moved
of all
into
the
this,
speed?
among other things. And then he moved into this dingy apartment with the hangers-on who were left and didn't move on to other careers. And they would just like do speed and write. And then he disappeared completely and resurfaced in China about 3 to 5 years later.
Yikes.
Man, I want to resurface. That's such a great verb. I've never resurfaced anywhere.
I resurfaced. I resurfaced
that is
once.
true. You did resurface at one point.
Yeah, made a
what-
small
envy
ripple
that.
on Twitter. All you have to do to
resur-
resurface is quit social media
You
and
are
then come
correct.
back, and then just come back. That's all.
What did he do in China? What was Nick Land? Nick Land in China. 1010 in China. Nick Land in China.
Well, think about China and
Okay.
think about the idea of a corporation running a country. They kind of work pretty nicely together at this point in Chinese.
Are you saying that socialism with Chinese characteristics is basically just this feudal baron lord system of corporations battling it out with each other?
I'd say it maybe bears some similarities. I don't know enough about China's government to make any definitive claims on that. But I would just say if I were to pick anywhere in the world where a guy with that kind of worldview would go, it does kind of make sense. Like it's an accelerating, proto-capitalist. If you live, I think he lived in Shenzhen, which is a special economic zone. So it even has a kind of separate enclave from the Chinese government. It's like a city state that's completely unregulated. That's a scary thing. Look into special economic zones.
Special economic zone.
That's a scary phrase.
Yeah. They basically
That's what I call my dick and balls is my special economic zone. Hey. Sorry. So he's in Shenzhen, special economic zone, doing some dark shit.
Yeah, and then picks up the phrase Dork Enlightenment and runs with it, writes a piece called The Dork Enlightenment, or I guess it's a book, like a short book, where, it's, the funny thing is it's hard to describe, but there are huge differences between Yarvin and Land in terms of how they arrived at their conclusions. I think Yarvin is a more typical fascist kind of
Yarvin is very
computer
incel,
guy.
STEM lord. Very reeks of it. It's like it's clear that the femoids have taken over discourse and poisoned the well with their intolerable anti-logic, and so kings must use violence in order to stomp them down and don't you see reality for how it is. Whereas Nick Land, I don't understand, how did he come to it?
Well, he came to it something along the lines of something like, or what I've heard and I think read from him, is that capitalism is like a virus from the future that has come back to infect the present to kind of allow its own ascension.
It's Rocco's basilisk.
Is that how they're... And he links that with schizophrenia being as like a disease from the future, I think.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because capitalism causes this, breakdown of the otherwise, brains can't handle capitalism, so schizophrenia, I guess, becomes a kind of side effect.
Deleuze and Guattari write about that extensively. Have a whole book about that.
Yes, schizophrenia and capitalism.
Schizophrenia and capitalism.
How do you find that it's like learning a language to read some of these guys? It's kind of like inventing a language, and if you key into it, the idea you have to learn the language before the ideas you can understand the ideas. So I've found that to be a big learning curve. But once just recognizing that alone makes the learning curve easier, because it's not that you're not understanding the sentences necessarily, because sometimes the sentences don't make sense unless you understand what language they're using.
Yeah, Deleuze and Guattari are particularly strange in the way they use language. And
so we're talking about Deleuze and Guattari here. Guattari, I took a Guattari shit the other day.
Is it Guattari? I never heard it said before.
Deleuze. I don't know. I know the name just because I've been around that, but they sort of. Would you say they sort of come out of like more the Foucault tradition, or like where did Deleuze and Guattari come out of, and why are they important to the Dark Enlightenment?
Well, I don't know how important they are at this point anymore. I don't want to draw too much of a line between.
No, they're different, but it's interesting how the postmodernism of Deleuze and Guattari was directly influential in the fact that a huge linchpin for why they say we should return to kings is that there is no arc of history, and that's what a lot of the postmodern movement attempted to sort of describe. If I'm getting that right, tell me. You. This is why we have you on, Alex.
No, I mean that's not wrong. I would say, there, especially the book that accelerationists draw from, Anti-Oedipus, which was the first in the 2-volume set called Capitalism and Schizophrenia. The other one is 1,000 Plateaus. Mm-hmm. The accelerationists draw on this part of Anti-Oedipus, where they start all of a sudden being like, maybe the way to resist capitalism is actually to amplify its intensities, to accelerate certain parts of it so that it kind of becomes even less capable of control and could open spaces. They kind of retracted that. And then Lyotard, who wrote the Postmodern Condition, before that, he wrote a book called Libidinal Economy, where he said a very similar line of thought, where it was like, there is no escape from capitalism, there's only through. He also kind of denounced that book afterwards because of how mad people got at him. Well,
I would say that in my layman's understanding of it, you could say there is no escape from capitalism, in that there is no distinct separation between socialism and capitalism because of the globalized world. Because some economies are socialist but still operate within a capitalist milieu. You can't really draw that line as easily unless you have some sort of global standard of political ecology. So, and that's sort of making schizophrenia, man. It's making me have to be one thing and then another.
That made me a bit schizophrenic. Just that sentence there.
No, I remember in college deciding that cognitive dissonance is how I would live my intellectual life, which is just never allow any sort of settling or harmony. Because you can't live in the 21st century that way. I don't think, and if you do, there's probably something you're probably not thinking quite right. You're uncomfortable.
And then when a big changing event happens, like you freeze. Like when a pandemic happens, you can't adapt because you're not like riding the wave. You kind of I've conceptualized it as riding a wave. I used to be called contrarian, but that's just because people would observe me at different points on a wave. So that's not. I'm not being contrarian. I'm just in a different place. So
there you go.
No. I think that's exactly. That's very good. No, because it's not contrarian. Yeah, it's just like anything that comes up, I'm gonna like go into debate with myself about it until I go crazy as a baseline.
I have just one moral belief that I like being nice. That's pretty. No, I
thought you were going to say I like dogs.
I think that's sort of why I like care ethics, because it's like at the end of the day, being good comes down to stuff as stupid as that shit, which is you give a bagel to a homeless man. You did it. You did praxis. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like that's part of a big problem these days of some sort. I wouldn't want to try to call it any one thing, but is that you have to be both extremely, like, ideas are very simple and extremely complicated at the same time. Like, a slogan is incredibly effective. It also reduces things, like, it is as simple as to say something is bad. You can call something out and say that's bad, but also that reduces things. Yeah. And I find that that's a lot of the distance that happens for me in let's call it late capitalism.
I guess like every every reactionary philosophy is trying to create that perfect world. Like Ayn Rand was all about creating that single unified theory, trying to reconcile the inherently conflicting nature of everything. And I think that's what drives people to madness, and in this way, this acceleration.
Theories of everything can be a dangerous game to play. I don't know if you guys looked at that object-oriented ontology at all.
Or, No, tell me about it, honey. Honey, describe it, honey.
It's really funny. Well, one of the people actually from the CCRU helped kind of develop it, and it was an offshoot of a thing called speculative realism, which was like a bunch of mostly white dudes being like, we need to rescue realism from all of this idealist postmodern philosophy.
These PC cucks have gone too far.
No. Oh. Not quite like that. Okay. More like we've learned all we can from the interesting observations of that generation. Now we need to move on to something else where we feel okay saying that something actually exists and have a
I feel like
this is
like the pretense to every TERF argument, though.
Oh yeah, no. I mean the way I phrased it there definitely does sound like J.K. Rowling.
So it's a reaction. It's a reaction against so much existentialism. Is that what you would say?
Against like postmodernism, poststructuralism.
Okay.
The schizophrenia of capitalism. The idea we have only one mode, we have only one thought, we have only one direction. Hence the band One Direction.
Oh, God. I knew there was a reason why.
Yeah. The Dark Enlightenment boy bands, One Direction. All of them kings.
Yeah, they just made everything get worse much quicker. It's amazing.
Exactly. Accelerationism, One Direction.
They made music worse in just a matter of minutes for everyone.
Oh, actually, I like One Direction. You don't know you're beautiful. Oh. I like Harry Styles. He's hot.
I feel like I never learned even enough to be able to reference One Direction in a pop culture reference.
Okay, so let me tell you. There's Harry. There's Zayn. Okay. No, I'm not going to go through all the
rest
One
of the podcast.
Right. Yeah. This is a One Direction podcast now. Yeah, exactly. What's Niall Ferguson doing now?
And K-pop.
Yes. Well, I feel like K-pop and the Dark Enlightenment are somehow joined together, and I don't know how.
Let's be careful what we're connecting with the Dark Enlightenment.
K-pop. No, they're the answer. They're apparently they're what's going to save us.
who like took down All Lives Matter when it was trying
Yeah.
to trend.
They're
Yeah.
like angels of the light enlightenment.
Exactly. They're the
Yeah.
TikTok teens. They're the good Zoomers. They're the white hat Zoomers that everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
As opposed to the black hat Zoomers, which are, I guess, just MAGA kids.
Oof,
Yeah.
that's a scary.
No, kids with
topic.
anime avatars who are like trying to teenagers who are all into, technically it's a phebophilia talk, and have cat girl anime avatars.
Anyway, object-oriented ontology
Object-oriented ontology.
was an offshoot from speculative realism that wanted to really push it far and say the world is only made of objects and they cannot be fully known. They will always withdraw, is the term they use from Heidegger. A weird interpretation of this Heideggerian thing where you will never fully know an object, and everything is an object. Literally everything in the entire universe, including the universe, is an object. And
This sounds like a divorced guy talking about women.
Well, how do
Everything
they-
is an object.
Okay. How do
You'll
they deal
never
with
understand them.
how do they deal with signs and like signs and information from signs?
well, here's the thing. In this version of realism, this is the one part. There's a few parts that I like about it, and one of them is that they give a coherent explanation for why Sherlock Holmes is real.
Sure.
Right? Sherlock Holmes is real.
Mhm.
He has had an effect in the world, in whatever various ways that a piece of popular literature can.
Hmm.
So therefore he's real, but he's no more or less real than, and they're known for what are called Latour litanies, which is a reference to Bruno Latour, whose actor network theory has a similar kind of view of the world. Everything's an actor or a network.
Okay.
And that's where they list a bunch of things. They're like, Sherlock Holmes, the moon, a ham sandwich,
All real.
my, my big
Vitamins.
toe.
Vitamins.
Vitamins.
Vitamins are real, but you don't know what's in
like-
them.
Like
You
we
can
could
never
just start
know what's in
listing.
them.
Smooth Bernie.
Actually, let's go in a little round robin here and just name things for a
All
while.
right. Yeah. All right. Blue jeans.
Parakeets.
Cottage cheese.
The state of Oregon.
Happiness.
Earbuds.
Fantasy novels with big dick dwarves.
All right, that one distracted me.
Can't handle the big dick dwarves. The Dark Enlightenment inevitably leads to the fantasy novels with
Yeah.
the big dick dwarves.
Oh man,
Yeah, I
that
think
reminds
that
me
would
of
be the only literature allowed.
So
last-
yeah,
Tolkien, but all big dicked. Everyone's big dicked.
all big dick Tolkien. Yeah, it's just Tolkien, but with interjections of how big the dicks are. And today we fight, we shall die, but it shall not be this day. And like,
Oh, and by the way, he was
twanging
huge.
dick. Yeah, he was hung like a fucking ant.
That's like those, men writing women characters, things
Yeah.
drawn from popular fiction.
Yeah.
Or glistening
Yeah.
body.
The worst ones are like, she was 15, but she had the body of a lusty 20. No! Stop, Aaron Sorkin.
Oh no, Aaron Sorkin said that?
No, he didn't say that, but he's generally not known to have progressive views towards women.
So how do they prove
Even-
that Sherlock Holmes is real? We can't get too distracted here. I gotta know.
Well, because I think somebody like Latour would say because he has a material effect in the world. Anything that has a material effect in the world is real.
Okay.
Okay.
Like,
So I am not real. 'Cause I have...
you just shout into the void of this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
The only people who like this podcast are other people on this podcast.
Exactly. So
Yes.
speculative realism.
Yes,
You're holding up a book.
Wow.
Object-oriented ontology. A new theory of everything. By Graham Harman. It has a Lego block on the front, which is obviously talks about it sort of. It has this vaguely utility feeling, like, look, we're just getting down to brass tacks, things are things, they're discrete things. You can't know where they begin and end, but trust me, they're discrete. It's real. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about metaphysics. Everything is real. Things are real.
You said Bractas.
Bractas.
You said Bractas.
Bractas.
How does object-oriented ontology... Bractas. Bractas.
Give me a task, I'm going to take care of it.
Don't worry about it. It's Bractask. My daughter was killed by a lazy man, which is why I always get things done. I'm Bractask.
In a cruel irony.
So how does object-oriented ontology figure into the Dark Enlightenment?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it does, except that like realism was definitely kind of the mood of the CCRU, I guess, and this kind of resurgence of realism definitely fed a more kind of exacting way of thinking. But no, I'm not going to tie it to the Dark Enlightenment. We can double back now.
But
onto
okay, so was like realism, say, because like for the first half of the 20th century with like Derrida and the Frankfurt School and even like Deleuze and Guattari were like, we just straight up can't fucking know anything. Okay, we are in the woods, we're in the dark, we're fucked up. This is like what sort of like Jordan Peterson hates about postmodernism. It's like, I implicitly reject the idea that we can't know what things are. Things are things.
Pick up your room.
Clean up your room. Your room is a thing. It can be measured. Okay? All right, bucko?
Listen, bucko.
Yeah. And so do you think this like realism was a reaction to early 20th century postmodern philosophy, which like didn't place a lot of stock in the idea of like a knowable objective reality?
Yes, I would say that that's definitely a big part of it, is like the idea. Well, it also comes down to the third word there, ontology, versus, which is the speculating about the nature of things, how stuff works, versus epistemology, which is the study of how we come to know how things work or whatever. Right. And the study of like the knowledge making. That's a lot of what I do, not to give too much specificity about who I am, but science and technology studies is big on epistemology. How does science make knowledge, and is that a specialized objective space where politics and culture don't infect because you disinfect it for it in the lab, or in fact is science just another political cultural practice among many?
Oh, that makes me think of the philosophy of scientism and how that has a lot of overlap with Dark Enlightenment thinking.
Yes, scientism is like that kind of a I don't know if it's an invention of STS, but it's definitely a big part. Is like especially things like economics or other disciplines and areas that wanted to act like they were sciences. And therefore valorized objectivity and the scientific method in ways that quote unquote real scientists actually probably wouldn't very much. If you ask the average chemist what they thought of the scientific method, they would be like, well, yeah, it's a thing I do. It's like my job.
Yeah, I use it to understand different types of mushroom spores. I can apply it to this very narrow frame of knowledge.
Yeah,
I don't know how that applies to whether we should give trans people hormones or not.
Precisely. like I don't know why, they wouldn't say, well, it's about objective knowledge and how things are real and rah, 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 rah. You know, this is this kind of ideological objectivity,
Mhm.
like Jordan Peterson or Steven Pinker or
Yeah.
all of the...
Or even like neoliberalism, where the idea that the free market is best suited morally and ethically to arrange society, and science is morally and ethically best suited to arrange society because it is the most quote unquote rational, even though all science tells us is sort of, it gives us one picture of the universe, but what we do with that information is completely up to philosophy and material societal factors and political factors, and not scientific factors whatsoever.
Yes.
Which is why people balk at scientism. And for those, we've been talking about scientism, but to establish a definition, scientism is the veneration of scientific knowledge above all other forms of knowing. It says that we can know the best with science, as opposed to philosophy or softer sciences like history, social science, or even or psychology, or through literature or art. Those are inferior ways of knowing, and thus we should only turn to science in order to shape our moral and philosophical boundaries.
Wikipedia is saying Steven Pinker is like a guy who falls into this category. I've seen him on Twitter. What's the deal with him? Is he good or bad? Quick.
He's bad.
Well,
he's bad.
Oh yeah, he's bad.
Yeah.
Well, he's very obsessed with like you know, that we need to turn to science. We need to not question science. We need to, you know, he would want to blame postmodernism or as a blanket category covering anybody who disagrees with him, like Jordan Peterson always does, for destabilizing faith in experts in science and whatnot, as though anybody was actually listening to what academics say at any point in history, other than the huge cottage industry in the academy that actually runs the academy, which is pipelines to the software industry, government, and corporate world. Like, that's really what the university is built for. Like, these little offshoots of cultural studies and critical race studies and stuff are so small and powerless compared to everything else about the university.
Yeah. But it's because they're more proliferate in the culture, because corporations are still the bad guys in movies, because they're a more compelling bad guy than the Black Panthers.
Oh man!
Because of that,
bad
corporate
movie.
people, just shooting down the black. Well, it's basically Death Wish 1 through 4. So.
Oh yeah. What am I talking about? It's like every action movie made between 1970 and 1980.
Yeah, which are all great, all of them good.
I'm gonna clean up these streets. Tack. What is his name?
Breast as tack breast.
Oh.
I forget his name.
It's
Brack-task.
Brack-task. Task. Pia.
Brack.
Oh man. So, and scientism is good because it also makes you less squishy morally. Basically, it's designed to deaden you and make you think of people as only sort of transactional sort of objects, essentially. It reduces any sort of metaphysical notion of humanity down to the idea that we are just, basically flesh pods walking around aimlessly.
I hate that we're flesh pods.
We will become
color commentary.
What about the body without organs? But what about the body without organs, Alex? Tell us about that.
Well, that's one of those terms that I still am trying to make sense of, but I think it's also sometimes can be thought of as what they would call an abstract diagram, which makes more sense to me. An abstract diagram, by my best understanding, is like that the same physical and or mathematical and or scientific or let's say like the same processes occur in different areas. That is, you could write up the same mathematical equations for like how water moves, how people move through a crowded space, how I don't know, I'm doing a bad job, but
fluid dynamics.
It's the idea that you can pull out of these complex interactions
that everything sort of repeats from a macro down to a micro scale.
Yeah, well, and that the same, like, well, because the funny thing about Deleuze and Guattari, as I understand them, is that, let's take STS, for instance, Science and Technology Studies, wants to ask, how does science come by its knowledge, and what are the implications of that? Deleuze and Guattari, on the other hand, say, what can we take from science and use as a tool to think philosophically? So they're not really interested in like troubling science. They're just sort of like grabbing things from all over the place.
Don't ask what you can do for science. Ask what science can do for you.
Yes.
That's not the quote. Yeah, because that's sort of like a phrase that comes up in academia a lot, is like, what is it doing? What is it working? What is its function? How is it operating? You know, the scientific knowledge is only good in as much as what you can use it for. And you can use scientific knowledge, you know, you can use Einstein's theories to make infinite energy or the fucking A-bomb, you know?
Yeah.
It's
well,
and which one you choose is not does not depend on science. It depends on other factors.
Yes. Well, and if you could imagine a more political climate in which science was happening, the Manhattan Project would probably be the epitome of a place where, you know, it wasn't just a bunch of objective people asking objective questions. It was a bunch of very subjective reasons to be adamantly trying to blow shit up.
Yeah.
Oh, we're making a bomb. We're making a bomb.
Some people have even thought that their motivation was the total annihilation of all humans. Instead
That
of
would
just...
be great if there were a few like of the ex-Nazi scientists being like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah, that's what
I was trying to do all along.
Yeah, that theory has been directly suggested. They're just like,
come on, Klaus, we're going to get rid of the commies. What? Yeah. I thought we were going to destroy everyone on Earth.
Yes,
I thought this is
and everyone else? Well, also everyone else?
Well, did I not get the memo?
The commies? Okay, I guess that's a start.
Yes, they're on the list. We have the list.
Russia. That's a lot of people, I guess.
Right, he's keeping a list the whole time. Oh, and also,
oh my, we were talking earlier about Peter Thiel too.
Yeah.
So Peter Thiel is a huge backer of the Dark Enlightenment.
He's
so
scary.
Peter Thiel
really
is this
scary.
billionaire. He's gay, which is important in a lot of actually ways. It's important to mention that he's gay, because he's the reason why he was outed by Gawker. And he's the guy that backed the Hulk Hogan lawsuit.
Right. Oh my God.
That destroyed Gawker, and which set an extremely bad precedent for suing for suing publications, because it meant that you could go after all of their assets and basically gut them for one story, and it was set by this Florida judge. And Peter Thiel has an interest in that because he's very much interested in controlling the flow of information. As we were talking about the power elite in earlier episodes, and about how the new economy is essentially controlling the flow of information. Peter Thiel, a guy that runs Palantir and is very interested in suppressing anything that he doesn't find to be beneficial to himself, is a very scary figure on the horizon of new capitalists. And he loves the Dark Enlightenment. He loves it. He gives it a lot of money. He's Nick Land's sugar daddy. And The question is why? Why does this philosophy help psychopaths like Peter Thiel?
Yeah, well, I would say, because if you just listen to the kind of really basic part of accelerationist ideas, hey, let's amp up capitalism and create something new.
Yeah.
If you take that at face value, you're like, somebody like Peter Thiel is like, oh, hell yeah, that's what I've been saying all along.
Yeah, super capitalism. That will get us to the new thing.
So when somebody like Nick Land, and right, I still want to maybe try to draw out why Nick Land turned Deleuze into fascism.
Okay, let's start with why Nick Land turned Deleuze into fascism.
Okay, so by my best reading, it's something like the non-human. That's another big term in
the non-human.
I don't know if it's used in Dark Enlightenment. It's actually used in much more in like super legit cool theory.
But Deleuze uses non-human.
I don't know if Deleuze uses non-human, but he definitely inspired the use of it because it's this kind of idea about the material world, the non-human world, and in some cases the non-sentient world, I guess, has a tremendous amount of sway in what happens. Stuff pushes back, material pushes back. You can't, politics doesn't just flow on a flat space. It goes careening and colliding through a material world. Look no further than trying to implement a healthcare system to see that it's not just people getting in the way. In other words, it's not just, and so that comes out of, like a lot of Deleuze's philosophy came out of, was inspired by complexity theory and, complexity science, chaos science, all of these areas trying to account for just how fucking crazy
shit's wild, yo.
Shit's wild.
And complicated.
And super complicated. But so for Land, I think he really latched on to this idea that there is this other force, this like godlike force that has existed since the beginning of the universe, and that capitalism is part of that. It's
neat.
Spooky.
It is.
Oh no!
God created capitalism in His image. Jesus God. Oh, spooky.
He's got money printers for nipples.
Feels so clean, like a money machine.
Yeah.
Well, and that whatever this force is, it wants to just like hyper organize and sort and build and develop, and everything is just going to keep doing that, and we are part of that. We are the sort of unique progenitors of that.
So this
force.
is like a
ants, if you will,
movement
that run it.
So this is a movement based off of rationality that says that like we're metaphysical Bob the Builder spirits. It actually has like an axiomatic like spiritual thing, a component to it where it's like
I don't know about the spiritual part. I mean, you could read him that way, I suppose, because of just how much godlike ability he places in this kind of like schizo-capitalist materialism thing.
The builders are the builders. They make the things, so the builders are the best. The scientists are the builders. They make the things. They have the Legos and they have the blocks, so they make the things, and they are the good ones. Yeah, I think I'm getting it.
No, I mean, because like I think Land and these kind of neo-fascist reactionary types wouldn't have much patience for the more legitimate and interesting, even if it is weird and sometimes problematic, things like object-oriented ontology or something. They moved way beyond whether or not there are subjects.
Yeah, you're right.
And
so how does Nick Lane use the non-human in order to get to fascism?
So first off, this is non/human, right?
yeah, or non-human.
Is it? I think that's
actually,
an important
it's
distinction.
It's just one word.
Is it one word, or is it not? Is it non and then slash?
It's actually a full sculpture of a man made entirely out of Indian bread. The non-human.
Okay.
In in academic lit, it's one word. There's a volume called The Non-Human Turn. That's a good one to look at. It's chapters by different people who were kind of engaged with the idea of the non-human. Because that obviously also includes every living thing that isn't human.
Okay.
And so that's kind of important. Like thinking about intelligence and sentience as not this uniquely human quality, but rather, and so new materialism was a big movement that developed as part of the non-human turn. And that is, like I said earlier, this kind of, that the material world has a huge force, that theory hasn't been thinking about it. They've just been talking about how we receive the world. We haven't been talking about the world itself, that kind of thing. And and a lot of my work is in that neck of the woods. But if you take that to a kind of, take that and several other things to kind of a crazy extremist point of view, you would say the material world runs the show. We're just these ants thinking we have control over it, but it's actually this kind of Ur-force, this like that Landian.
It's Uranus
universe
up in the sky,
running everything. So we should just let it run its course.
It's just Skyfather. We're just back to religion again. We're just back to.
Wait, he says we should just let it run its course. Is that really what he says?
Well, we should encourage it. Really, for a while he was saying we should let it run its course, and then he turned to we should encourage it.
We can know the will of God, and we can pour gasoline on it.
Like things are going at a good tempo now for the end of the world. All right, we got like 40 years. Come on.
Yeah, 40 years. Unless we start geoengineering. That's the only way we're going to save.
You know what I was thinking we could do? We could try to set off a nuke that will cover the world in clouds to slow it down. Give us 5 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, stratospheric aerosol injection is a major... Yeah. Sadly, that's the only kind of geoengineering that ever gets talked about.
Yeah, that's the only one we got.
People are always like... immediately go to the Bond villain being like, we will light up the sky.
Yes.
Tiny mirrors in the sky. Glitter will save us.
Then we will move the moon.
Between the mesosphere and the ionosphere will be the glitter sphere. And it will reflect all the bad light.
We're going to man a giant spaceship with K-pop people to just block out the sun.
They'll dance into the sun.
They'll do it. They'll save the world.
The K-pop kids will save the world.
But no, Alex, I don't think you're wrong there about it seeming religious, like the way he thinks, because it is this kind of like religion of capitalism, but not in like a Wall Street way, more in like, no, there actually is this super force that we need to just like encourage, and it will build us this kind of new world where we merge with machines. That's the other part of it, is there's definitely a singularity merge with machines component.
I see.
And basically the capitalism birthed artificial intelligence, and together they will birth.
Yeah, and the new system is not possible without humans combining with machines and becoming the AI or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the next thing we're getting to.
Yeah, humans were the necessary step in the line of evolution.
Nice.
Needed.
I'm down with that.
That sounds kind of nice.
Nice.
And so that's why I'm a huge supporter.
Yeah, which is why we are a CCR. We are a Dark Enlightenment podcast now. Dork Enlightenment. No, it's fucking stupid. They all just want to be cyborg men.
Nice.
They all want to be Cybermen from Doctor Who. It's the fucking lamest. It's not even the good Doctor Who villain.
It's not even the good one.
The other
Daleks are the good
unfortunate.
one.
The other unfortunate part of this is, if there weren't enough unfortunate parts, is that because Land took up the Dark Enlightenment and Yarvin kind of then took up Land, the word accelerationism drifted from this kind of obscure academic, like really a thought experiment of sorts, into neo-Nazis using it as a term to describe what they're doing when they go out and try to cause riots and try to
We're just accelerating, bro.
Exactly. We're accelerating the downfall of Western civilization to usher in a white ethno-state.
Oof.
That is also now accelerationism. So it might be done. That term might be over. We need to call it something else. Doesn't mean that the ideas that originally were in the academic thought experiment aren't still very compelling.
Accelerationism is so funny. Oh man, if you smoke this entire pack of cigarettes, I'm gonna make you smoke this entire carton of cigarettes, and then you won't do capitalism anymore because you'll be so disgusted.
I thought that he kind of was a little racist too. Is it as accidental that the neo-Nazis picked it up?
Oh no. I mean, he doesn't think very much of the alt-right or certainly not Trump and definitely not neo-Nazis, but I don't think that he has any moral fortitude that would stop him from, I don't know, being like, okay, sure.
You think he'd be like? You think he's a bell curve type of guy?
And he's definitely bigoted in all kinds of ways. I'm quite sure at this point. I don't know that I've ever heard him say anything specifically, but you can draw out pretty terrible.
Well, yeah, the Dark Enlightenment people aren't explicitly racist. Like Peter Thiel has never said anything explicitly racist in public that I can recall. Like But at
the end of the day, neo-cameralism is also built on extreme. What is it? When you get the credit for the thing that you do.
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. Yeah.
The idea of meritocracy,
which is inherently problematic.
Yeah. We will create the test, and whoever does the best on the test will be the best. But who will create the test? Why the best? Who'll create the test?
And then they just repeat that until it's that can, if you take that recursively, we do it enough, eventually society will just snap into shape. We're going to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps here.
Yes.
Jump into the air with our bootstraps.
Right.
I often did that as a kid. I would try and lift my shoelaces up in order to fly.
And then just fall.
You dumbass kid.
I was smart. I was creative.
I was smart.
I was a scientist. This is how we know things, using the scientific method. Can I fly by lifting my shoelaces up? The answer was no.
I thought I could fly by thinking really hard. Yeah, no, not smart enough.
Could fly by taking some acid and jumping off a roof.
The ultimate experiment.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So how? No. Tell me what was you saying? I should not.
I was going to say we could turn, given that we're talking academic stuff, to a popular topic of the moment.
Ooh, are you talking about Miss Harper's letter?
Yep.
Miss Harper's letter.
Who care? Who care?
I think it's funny. It's so funny just because of the rogues gallery. All those people. It's only funny because of the names. just the collection of people beside each other. The letter, the text of the letter, who the fuck cares?
I wanted to see one of like some famous musicians, but none of them signed it.
Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, he was just the only musician?
He was the only musician that signed it.
I was thinking Hall & Oates should sign it.
Yeah, stop beating up on us.
It would be funny if like every like comedian that's big, like Louis C.K. signed it as well. He's really been a victim of cancel culture.
I was surprised that I guess they were sticking mostly with like public intellectuals, but yeah, I was surprised that like Bill Maher and like Jerry Seinfeld weren't on there.
They didn't invite them to the party
because they're constantly complaining. I mean, Bill Maher made a career out of complaining about something that he helped create.
Yeah. I think there's more money in punching left for his boomer audience. They're just annoyed by kids who talk about socialism all the time.
Well, Alex,
that's why mom's...
Alex, are you worried? Are you at all worried that at some point in your career you could say something and then lose your job because of it?
No.
Alex, too. How about you?
It seems unlikely because I'm because of a combination of I hope I'm the kind of person who wouldn't say something, blah blah blah, but also because I know how to, check myself before I wreck myself, so called. But no, I don't deny that could happen. Sure. I mean, but it's so rare. It's such a rare thing.
Well, that
actually happens.
You know what is we were talking about Richard Stallman last time on the podcast, and he's a guy that got canceled for having a monumentally bad take.
Yeah.
And how significantly did it affect him though? Like, does he teach anymore? Did he resign from his position?
He has resigned from some positions. I didn't look it up. But there have been other people. There was a guy, did you see the cancel culture thing is funny because it's happening to either professors of minor repute generally, or people who who do something crazy on video. And it's too different. This letter is being associated also with the people who are doing a horrifying shit on video of like physically threatening because they're not wearing a mask.
Yes.
So some insurance guy got canceled. He got fired from his insurance job for not wearing a mask at Costco. That's not a free speech thing. So
no, and that's a big part of the problem is that all of these terms that could be somewhat useful to talk about how discourse works in politically dramatic times, as if they weren't always, but especially now that people are actually noticing, are just tied up with the worst people. And then Trump used it in that speech, so it's like, why would you write a letter? I don't know if they ever say the word cancel culture, but they obviously are directly invoking. And then J.K. Rowling signed, and it's like, come on, what are you doing?
I mean, these are the people who are like. Also, like, people do get canceled. Like, Norman Finkelstein got canceled because he talked smack about Israel. Dude can't get tenure anywhere, but you don't get canceled for, like, saying that, I don't know.
That you can get canceled for that, which sucks.
Who else did the former New York Times editor Ian Baruma? Didn't he get shit canned for publishing a fash op-ed?
He was a Bard professor.
He was,
as we may know.
We know.
And, we've made reference to it before.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
He allowed Noam Ghomeshi. Is that how you pronounce his name?
John Ghomeshi, right? He allowed John Ghomeshi to write Okay, so this is a fun Canada fact. John Ghomeshi was the host of our most successful radio program called Q. It was basically our Trailer Park Boys, in that it was our only piece of media that got exported internationally in our field of radio, or one of the few that actually did. It was popular even outside of Canada. Gian Gomeshi turns out got in some trouble because he apparently was alleged to have choked about 17 women without their consent. 3 of them sued him, but then he was found not guilty. I shouldn't say sued him. 3 of them, was it a civil case?
Press charges? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was criminal charges. I believe they did press criminal charges. It wasn't civil. And he got off because a superstar lawyer, Marie Hennen, interrogated them witnesses down to a T, and there was lots of inconsistent. Actually, it's funny I mentioned Trailer Park Boys because Lucy from Trailer Park Boys was one of the accusers who took the stand.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and then Ian Baruma, Gian Gomeshi, came back. He's trying to come back. He released a podcast and stuff like that after this whole thing was over. He can never work again because 17 different accusations, even if you're not guilty, you can never work again.
Well, he can come on this podcast.
Hell yeah, Gian Gomeshi, come on House of Decline. We will have you anytime.
Yeah, you should be the podcast you should be the podcast that will platform anybody.
Oh yeah, we will.
We'll just yell at you though. We're gonna cancel you again.
Yeah, you'll be double canceled.
Ha! We tricked you. You're just here to get canceled.
We'll ream you out, Gian Gomeshi. We'll lick your ass. We'll choke you like you choked those ladies, allegedly.
Allegedly.
That's kind of you, Alex.
Yeah. Hey, not guilty. What can I say? Law found him not guilty.
Yeah, let's have OJ on the show.
Yeah.
Well, allegedly is kind of I feel like the linchpin that Baruma used to be like, this might be interesting to have somebody really bad write something.
It was also at the height of Me Too, right?
Yeah, towards the, I was about to say end of it. There will never be an end of it, nor should there be.
Yeah. But the end of the Joe Biden is the end of this sort of version of the Me Too movement, the Alyssa Milano Me Too movement, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But
as it became less of a media sensation, I guess is what I would say. That's when Baruma decided to do that and didn't really edit it, and it was stupid. I did sort of question that somebody would need to be fired over that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he is, but it was funny that he signed it because he is like a direct victim of cancel culture for his rape apologia. Rape me a culpa. Sorry I was raping, guys. Sorry, my B.
No, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. He should have been fired. It was really stupid.
I guess maybe.
I don't know. I mean, that's different. Whether or not he should be fired, that gets into labor rights.
But yeah, he's also an editor too, right. So that's he's management class. Yeah, we're all very smart and have come to the decision that this whole cancel culture debate is not a free speech debate, but an employment /
we're all very
labor
smart,
right debate.
And it's actually all about how the communists would do it better.
Communists. The thing about communists is that if you called your coworker the N-word, there would be an endless system of appeals before you could fire him. He would be placed in a rubber room.
And then you'd be sent to the coldest place we can find.
You would still have your pension.
Sorry, comrade. You have to go before the second commission on diversity, political inclusion, and hummus.
Oh no, it's in the woke Politburo building.
Cletus, god dang it, they're gonna crush us with bureaucracy again.
That would be great if being canceled in our communist future was just you got put into a Kafka-esque, just like endless bureaucracy of HR training sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rooms keep
God,
getting smaller, and the computers.
That's such a nightmare.
The computers just keep regressing. So, like every day, you're using a computer from a year earlier.
Yeah.
It gets worse and worse. How?
Until you're on like a giant like timeshare computer from the 60s.
Yeah.
Moving tubes around while being yelled at.
Oh man, I can't calculate what I have to calculate because Bob is calculating.
Man, I got this job at a company, but it's just diversity training sessions. We don't do any work. We're just in diversity training sessions the entire time.
Oh yeah.
That's like you ever watch the show Yes Minister?
No, the old British sitcom.
Yeah, it's really good. You should watch it. It's technically written by two Margaret Atwood or
Thatcher. Margaret Atwood. She signed the letter. She signed the Harper's letter.
Did she?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was on my mind because of the Harper's letter. Margaret Thatcher speechwriters. So, like, it can be read as a conservative critique of like a crazy bureaucratic liberal state, but it also is just really good at making fun of government.
Oh yeah. I don't think you have to have perfect politics to be like a very good political satirist. Like Armando Iannucci is he's very lib, but he's one of the best.
Oh yeah. And that's his favorite show. That
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But yeah, government is absurd regardless of either side. So,
there's an episode where the minister he's the minister for Minister for Ministerial Affairs or something made up, where he's like in charge of the paperwork, and they find out that he wants to give an award to the most productive hospital in the NHS in the National Healthcare System, and they're like, well, it's this one, and he's like, wow, it does so well, it stays on budget, and it's like, so how many doctors, how many patients? And they go, oh, none. It's just administrators. And they go and visit, and it's only administrators just passing paper around. There's no doctors, no patients, and it's the best hospital in Britain.
That is healthcare. Now. That's academia now. That's why people are frustrated, because there's just schools where nobody learns. It's just administrators. It's just HR reps who are chastising HR reps.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, it's HR reps all the way down.
And the kids are there learning how to become HR reps.
By watching HR reps perform HR talks to people who have been canceled.
Oh. Oh, man. That's Brazil.
But yeah, so I think whatever tiny sliver of actual observation was in that letter was so clouded and corrupted by the people involved, the dog whistles in the text, that real trash fire, dumpster fire.
Real doo-doo take. Real shitting your doo-doo pee-pee pants take.
Yeah, I have a proposition to how we can fix this whole thing, okay?
Okay.
We just need affirmative action for canceled people.
Oh, man. I
Wait. For the people who would cancel?
No, the people who got canceled, because now they're a minority group.
You're
and
right.
They need special protections.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes, they do.
So we have to. Universities now have to hire 1 out of every 10 people has to be someone who got canceled.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with it.
I know that. James Lindsay, who's one of the 3 who did the so-called squared prank. Do you remember that one where they submitted 17 fake papers?
Yes, to prove that postmodern gender studies were a bunch of crap. And then it was people just thought it was mean-spirited.
Yeah, well, and also like you could fake a bunch of scientific results and get into a journal if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was James Lindsay, Helen Pluckrose, and Peter Boghossian. They're releasing a book soon that's going to be like the cancel culture book. So watch out. They got a big hot take coming coming down the
big steaming hot take.
Steaming hot take. Is Peter Boghossian related to that guy that was in that movie?
That was in Uncut Gems?
Yeah, Uncut Gems. Is he related to the Uncut Gems guy?
Nah, he's not.
Damn, I love that guy. What's what's his
Eric
name?
Boghossian?
Eric Boghossian?
He's hot.
Hot fire.
Eric Boghossian's very... Nah, Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay and the lady.
Helen Keller. Yes, very good. Very in keeping with their politics.
Yeah.
If you want to treat them the way they treat everybody else.
Yeah, they think these PC cucks have gone too far, and we're gonna do something about it. God damn it! You guys no one's gonna get canceled no more. We're only gonna get the green light. That's the opposite of cancel culture. Green light culture. You want to talk about fucking...
all green lights all the time.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
No. Just all green lights all the time.
Oh, shit. The traffic will be great. I'll be on time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And dead.
Hey, it works in Thailand. Oh my God. But I think we should bring this around to, in terms of like cancel culture and sort of like reactions to it. I think it sort of relates to the Dark Enlightenment in what we've been talking about. It's about the powerful people attempting to control information. And these are powerful people that want to control perceptions of themselves. Even Noam Chomsky, even good old Noam, signed that thing because he too is pissed off that some fucking cat girl Zoomer, a 19-year-old, can call him a cuck and get 20K likes and, be influential. Fucking, I think, how does the Dark Enlightenment affect us, the everyday lads, the everyday dudes rocking? How would you say that these philosophies have sort of spilled over such that they are prevalent in our lives?
Well, Dark Enlightenment is certainly prevalent in the kind of like, I don't know, the tripped out new right, this new right wing that is on the internet and ironic and like, culturally-ish, what would you say, competent or conversant, as opposed to like George Will or somebody, some kind of like old school conservative.
I made a Pepe.
Actually, George Will is all like anti-Trump and like hardcore voting for Biden and stuff.
I love those guys. I love those Republicans for Biden. I love them. Because they're like, listen, we're going to say something real controversial. I'm voting for Joe Biden. Lord help me.
Oh, man. Fucking, yeah, but it's true. The Dark Enlightenment has wormed its way into the public consciousness through this now sort of nascent right-wing Zoomer meme culture that's permeating everything online.
It's the goddamn memes.
It's the goddamn memes.
It's the memes. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to get canceled, but it's the memes.
Yeah. There's something in the memes.
There's something in the memes.
That's my new horror movie, is a killer meme.
Actually, that would totally fit with Land. It was like memes proliferate despite humans.
They are real. Memes are things.
Memes have their own agency, and and they use humans. See how I did that?
You're right. Rocco's meme. We have to bring the meme into existence, or else it will punish us with eternal suffering if we didn't help bring the meme into existence.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's why they dance like that. The K-pop people, that is.
Yeah, they're the anti-memes because they're fighting memes.
They are memes. They are memes.
You can only fight a meme with a meme.
Mm-hmm. And they're the only people who, they are the meme. Mm-hmm. And everything they do. The Japanese also do this, I think.
Yeah. We should go with them.
Well, the Japanese have roving memes. You've noticed. You've seen this on John Oliver, like the people in the big suits.
Mascots, yeah. The
mascots,
Japanese mascot
the Japanese
culture,
that just are roving through, and each mascot has a different section of Japan to guard as a meme, as the idea guard.
You're right. They are the Dark Enlightenment.
They're providing psychological shields against the Dark Enlightenment, I think.
Oh yes, because even though they're sort of like the feudal corporate lords that the Dark Enlightenment contemplates, they are in fact using their outsized powers for good.
Of course, because the Japanese are very xenophobic, so they don't want anyone else's Dark Enlightenment. They got their own. They got their own. And it involves mascots.
I love the Mondo Mascots is a great Twitter follow. I will forever shout out at Mondo Mascots. Follow them right now.
Mondo Mascots. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a new Japanese mascot every day, and there's so many of them. Ones you don't even think about, like Asahi Paperworks. It's a big tree that's sad, you know.
Yeah. It's
there's a
I
mascot for
the
everything.
Simpsons with the fish guts.
Yeah, the Mr. Sparkle, of course. Knife goes in, guts come out. That's what Osaka Seafood Concern is all about.
Yeah. That's it.
But okay, yeah. None of the white people can do the Asian voices on The Simpsons anymore.
Ooh,
so
canceled.
That's gone. That's canceled. Yeah.
That's canceled.
Everything's canceled. The Simpsons is decidedly not canceled, and if it had been canceled, it would have never been canceled.
Mm-hmm. People wouldn't have allowed it. Although when the Ramesh Ranganathan made that documentary about Apu.
No, that was Harry Kondabolu.
Oh, sorry.
Ramesh Ranganathan doesn't have anything to do with Apu. You're racist. You're racist.
Oh, God.
No, you're not. You just confused one guy for another guy.
You're confusing your Desi comedians. I don't give a shit.
What I really did was I watched hours.
They're of different casts.
Hours.
How could you even confuse them?
I watched hours and hours of British panel shows during lockdown. So I just have like the names
Ramesh
of panel shows bouncing around my head.
Ramesh Ranganathan, the difference between him and Harry Kondabolu is Ramesh Ranganathan is funny.
Yeah.
Harry Kondabolu is the very definition of like a woke school. Not to say that he wasn't right about the problem with Apu. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just criticizing his actual comedy, which is not funny.
Yes, I've never experienced him being particularly funny. But I remember, obviously, a bunch of mostly... actually, I think I made a kind of one of those, where you can make a screenshot of The Simpsons with the dialogue.
Right, yeah. You took a
Frinkiac.
You took a Simpson shot, yeah.
I did a Frinkiac where it was Homer holding the nuts and gum, and it was like, I'm a white male, 18 to 45. Everybody listens to me.
No matter how bad my ideas are, we've got them together at last, yeah.
It was basically like, this is everybody saying that Apu should still be a thing. Everybody should listen to my ideas about race.
Yeah, very enlightened. Very enlightened. No, we should keep all of our...
Darkly enlightened.
And that's a good place to end, I feel. Yeah. We've talked a lot. Thank you, Alex, for being on our podcast to talk about the Dork Enlightenment.
I hope I didn't say anything offensive.
You didn't. Not. I don't think. We're not. No one's getting canceled.
No.
There may be a day when we will be canceled, but today is not that.
Today was not that day, sir.
No.
Oh yeah. What is it? You say no to death, girl. What do we say? No to cancel culture.
Not today. Not today, cancel culture.
Not today, cancel culture. Not today.